practitioner with experience in implementing PMO and Agile centers of excellence. He has delivered many IT-based platforms and products, as well as client-driven projects in many industries. He authored a book, Organized Common Sense, to support his initiative called Projecting Leaders of Tomorrow, introducing project management principles to high school and non-project managers. Calling himself the strategic productivity expert, he currently works as the enterprise agile evangelist, promoting the importance of strategic execution focus in project and product delivery. He also delivers certification training on PMP, Agile, Risk, and Scrum classes. 2 fun facts about Dr. Shuram: he is a stage actor, and he has watched all the Bond movies in order. If you have questions during the session, please feel free to put them in the chat box. Dr. Shuram will take them along the way if time permits. Otherwise, we will put them in the parking lot to address during the Q&A. Welcome, Dr. Shuram.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Nick. I'm going to just share the screen. Let's make sure that that's happening first. Okay, can you all confirm that you can see the screen? All right, cool. I saw one thumbs up. That's good enough. Let's get going. First of all, thanks to the entire PMI Chicagoland leadership team and the volunteers team. Without volunteers, these things don't get done. So I really appreciate and give them a big round of applause and kudos to all of you for pulling this team together, this event together. And I am literally mind blown with the opening keynote. Lots of impactful messages over there, and very big shoes for me to fill. And then comes, Michael Libby with power skills and how power skills are really important with statistics backed with PMI and stuff like that. So I think the board is getting raised here. And by Desmond's analogy, if he thinks himself as a small townhouse apartment, I am probably one of the forks in the kitchen drawer. So I'll try my best here to fill the shoes here. But let's get the ball rolling here in terms of how my thought process is in terms of how I'm trying to proceed. So let's keep this here. Okay. So I won't go into much of a details behind what my background is, but I have my postdoctoral work also published with reference frameworks called Tones, Parag, and Sleep. Based upon my independent self-research after my PhD. Number of different alphabets to my certifications here. And I've been in the field of, starting from system analyst, business analyst, project manager, and, moving through that life cycle all the way up to, managing 45, 50 different project managers, business analysts, and groups of agile excellent, group members, product owners, scrum masters, and stuff like that. Currently, I'm working as an enterprise agile evangelist with, Inflectra Corporation. And somewhere along the line, I also started my company, Agile Training Champions, where I started giving a lot of training, mentoring, coaching, stuff like that on a number of different things. And I've done training virtually in many countries. Pre-COVID, I used to travel. Post-COVID, I'm trying to do them remote. And I'm also very proud of continuously learning by volunteering. I do lots of teaching engagements. I do speaking engagements, and I write constantly. I maintain a blog as well. So different things that I try to support by giving back to the community that made me who I am. Here is my copy of my book. It's available wherever books are sold. And with that, I want to get into the actual details behind our presentation today. I'm sure you must be wondering what's going on with emerging ways of working, business agility implementation, value streams. What's going on over here? So where is this presentation going? When you look at the world today, we are seeing lots of different challenges. Like physical and mental health challenges are constantly getting reported, pre-COVID as well as post-COVID, more and more. Lots of social, inequities with different kinds of racial slurs and many other things that's going around, where diversity, equity, and inclusivity is getting more and more prominent. We're also talking about lots of immigration-related challenges because of asylum seekers and cross-border traffic and many other things, and several, supply chain management-related challenges as a result of that, material supplies, trade and tariffs, and many, deregulations that are causing financial challenges as well. Inflation, recession, these fears are coming into us. And so many of these things are all happening in today's world. So I want you to understand the macro environment as to why the businesses ask what they will be probably asking. Now, these things are not independent, and they are all connected, mutually supporting each other. And our goal is that all these things are getting solved by technology. IT projects or different types of fourth industrial revolution technologies that are constantly emerging. And that's the expectation here. Are they really solving the problems? Or actually, are they creating some problem? Example is the chat GPT that we are talking about. I don't want to go into the details behind that, because then that's going to be a different presentation than what I wanted to talk here. So if you look at the fourth industrial revolution, and I'm sure some of you may have heard of this, some of you may not have heard of this. So I want to, accept the context here. When I see a fourth industrial revolution, these are the things that are at least we are talking about. And these words are not something new to you. I'm sure you have heard all these things like robotic automation, Internet of Things with, wearable devices that are tracking us wherever we are going, different kinds of simulation activities that we do in different environments, including, experiments that we are trying to run in agile settings, cybersecurity related challenges that repeatedly come up in the form of privacy, security vulnerabilities, and stuff like that, and how all the different systems are coming together, as part of the systems integration. We talk about putting stuff in storage, into computing, many other things in the actual cloud environment. And then we are also talking about 3D technologies. If I don't have a water bottle, you just print it now. That's the way we are looking at it today. An explosive amount of data, everything that you are doing, your likes and comments and views and everything is getting tracked. And now we are looking at, more information about augmented reality. How do I get to see Hawaii's, from Boston, where I am in my house? So more and more and more, augmented realities are coming up. And so this is what the fourth industrial revolution space is trying. And many of our projects are either part of this or actually utilizing some of this. If you take a construction project, some of them are using. If you look at a telecommunication project, we are using this. Transportation project, healthcare project, financial project. So it's no longer software development. Software is becoming very commoditized in everything that we are trying to do, right? So the expectation is, well, we are all solving this because we are now agile and DevOps experts. We've been, in this field for so long, and we are solving all these things. Well, why are we going to agile? The previous speaker, Michael, was talking about, some of the foundations behind why we are moving into agile, how much is moving into agile and stuff like that. And if you look at the trends over there, the idea behind agile is to actually time box our iterations so that we are limiting the amount of risk that we take in for that amount of work, and not necessarily think like 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, things like that. But we still have a product roadmap. We know where we are going, and we know what we are trying to do, but we don't know the how. So we are experimenting and doing those things. As a result of that, we need to time box. The idea behind that is to limit the amount of risk exposure. And then we are expecting everybody to be actually cross-aligned, looking at this from a multiple dimensional skills, so that everybody is productive and we are giving great quality and stuff like that. Well, that's the idea. This is the idea behind the Agile Manifesto that was started more than 2 decades back. But when you look at the state of Agile survey, I've been monitoring the state of Agile survey for quite some time. It has changed hands, and I'm picking only the last 5 years. And I have dropped the year 2020 primarily because it doesn't give any information, because it was primarily focusing on the COVID-related stuff. But when you look at these 5 main reasons that they have been constantly tracking: accelerate the software delivery, speed to market, manage changing priorities, increased productivity, better IT alignment and business alignment, increased software quality. If you look at this, every year we are only reducing. We are not increasing. Just because we are working in 2-week sprints doesn't mean that we are actually increasing the quality of software. That's constantly decreasing. And I really have one big news over in these sections, because we are trying to move away from understanding Agile and not necessarily following Agile in the first place. So we need to think Agile, become Agile, and then do Agile, right? Now let's take a look at the Agile ceremonies. This is how the state of Agile survey in 2018. After that, this kind of dropped as well. So 90% are doing daily stand-ups. And I have, as part of my Agile transformation journey, I have looked at some of those patterns, and I asked them like, okay, why do you think you are following Agile? Well, we are doing daily stand-ups, so we must be doing something Agile. And iteration planning, we are having a meeting to discuss about having a meeting where we can have the pre-planning meeting or, iteration planning meeting. That's how we are continuously moving forward, and we are not necessarily, focusing on, okay, definition of ready, the stories are really backlog refined, prioritized. Team members have constantly been reviewing these backlog stories that are not necessarily committed, but giving feedback and stuff like that. And then we are moving into the retrospective and review. So some of these retrospective and reviews are becoming more and more, less optional. We don't have time for this. So let's not do this. So more and more, it's reducing, right? So the ceremonies are not necessarily getting fully utilized. That state of Agile survey is not necessarily telling the right story. So time boxing alone does not give any quality anymore. And when we say team practices, I mean team practices in a singular form here. Team practices alone does not give any business agility, because we need to think, why are we doing this? And we say this, 5 whys, lean principles. We come and say all these things and say, we need to make sure that we are actually asking the why questions. Why does the business want? Who is our customer? And I have had, some Agile teams that come and say, well, we are moving into Scrum because we found that Agile doesn't work, so we are moving into sprints. Well, enlighten me here, because I'm very confused, what is not working as part of Agile that Scrum is going to solve, right? So people are missing the whole idea behind this. And when you look at the whole 2022 report, many of the things that we talked about, that software management priorities, better IT alignment, speed to market, changing priorities, increased productivity, all those things are getting dropped. We don't want to even focus on these things anymore. So Agile is not a panacea. It's not a cure-all. Agile is more like that pure oxygen. You have to mix it with nitrogen to make it work. Let's take a look at the engineering practices coming from the technical engineering aspects, architecture angle over here. And these are some of the trends that people have been talking about. And, if I am not continuously maintaining 2019, 2020 and stuff like that, they are not necessarily getting reported on for me to report on here. So we are talking about unit testing, coding standards, CI/CD pipelines, refactoring, many of these things, test-driven development, pair programming, you can read all these things. But all these things are terms that we have been used in many of our Agile projects, as well as in DevOps initiatives. And we are constantly thinking about these things as part of our day-to-day vocabulary. Sometimes I may have difficulty to remember my phone number, but I'm still able to remember all these terms, right? So where is the impact of all these engineering practices on business value generation? Because we are not necessarily doing year after year, there is only marginal increases in a few places. Like unit testing, we are moving from 74 to 75% in 1 year, and the next year we are dropping to 69%. And again, everything is based upon the quality of data here. So, I do have concerns in terms of the validity and reliability of the, state of Agile surveys themselves. But given what they have, this is the information, because we go back and read this Agile report and say, well, we had to jump onto Agile. We had to move on to, something else. And, we are trying to use those things as our guiding Bibles, right? So if you look at these patterns over here, some are helping. but some are not necessarily helping. So team level practices are necessary, but they are insufficient for business value. Cross-functional agility is pivotal, which means I need to know what my developer thinks. I need to know what my operational guys think. I need to know what my marketing team thinks. That kind of a managerial technology, cross-functional skills are really required. But it is very important to the business value, which means you need to go a level above and ask, why are we doing this project now? Why are we doing this iteration now? In fact, in Scrum Guide 2020, when it was released, we went back and said, we need to have an iteration goal. We need to have a release goal. We need to have a product goal. So now we are trying to put like objectives and goals for every level. No longer can we come and say we are agile, so we are just going to the airport and ask the flight attendant, give me the ticket to wherever the plane goes, because we are agile. Right? So flash news again, 2022 reports are actually not even focusing on any of these process related trends. Instead, they are talking about tools. Use this tool and you'll be good. And one of the reasons why I do not trust these, this agile reports to a large extent, I take it with a grain of salt, is primarily because the surveys themselves are not validated. It asks like, okay, what are the tools that you are using? And if the tool that you are using is not listed, you will most likely say other. And when I select the other, it gives me 2 other tools, and that's it. If those 2 other tools are not also the tools that I want to report on, how do I report a new tool? And now we go back and say, oh my God, if we use this particular tool, we are great. And I'm not trying to name any particular tool for a specific reason, because I'm not vouching or crediting any particular tool here, right? So we need change. But what kind of change? We need change, but what kind of change? So let's take a look at some of the trends that I have been picking up here. Okay, so emergent waves. But when you look at these 4 emergent trends that I have picked, and out of that I have picked additional trends, talent shortage. No longer can we say that if a person worked 50 hours in a week, that person is very productive. Productivity, the name of the productivity game has changed. The best worker is the one who is working fewer number of hours and still delivering on the outcomes. Which means the competency is a function of your capability. The second one, sustainable space. I intentionally said space, not pace, because everybody operates at a different speed and everybody needs some space to think. So non-human resources, like your AWS S3 can come and say, we are having 99.99999% accuracy time or stand-up time. But people are people. We're not going to be 100% productive. We are not machines working 24/7. You will not be, right? So the efforts that you are going to be putting every day is going to be a function of your well-being, your state of mind. Now, let's take a look at the technological convergence, because this is another trend, that global mega trend that is actually happening. It's part of the 4th industrial revolution I was mentioning about. Regulations are emerging, and there are lots of opportunities to address risks, because many things are not even defined yet. So even the artificial intelligence is a function of human intelligence. ChatGPT can write a poem or write an essay, but cannot solve my problems at home. But a human being can work on different contexts at different points. So if context really matters, then the amount of narrow scope within which all artificial intelligence solutions are working also have to be understood. It's there to stay. It's not going to go away, but we need to understand, where it works and where it does not. The next one is going to be management debt. Similar to technical debt, I coined this term called management debt. Management debt is more about how to lead with autonomy. I want to give you enough space to operate, but keep enough controls also, so that you have the autonomy But when things have to be, a lifelong decision has to be made, I'm there to come and guide you. So like, this is about your point of, return. So I really need to come and help you out. These are some of the things that are happening in the world. And when these things are not being addressed, when people are not intellectually challenged and inspirationally motivated, they feel left behind. And that's the reason behind the great resignation, the quiet quitting, and things like that we are calling, right? So I have news for you here also. Be the agent of change here in your organization, because many of the roles will change, many of the policies will change, and they're still in the making. We are in an incubatory period. So be the agent of change, right? So my own predictions that I've been studying many of these things, going to different conferences, and picking up some trends and stuff like that. So based upon that, one of the trends that I'm picking up is attracting and retaining talent. This is going to be a major challenge that people are going to see. Okay. Both attracting and retaining talent. The second one is going to be continuously training them for continuous learning. In fact, relentless, training. And training is not just job, the employer's responsibility. It is your responsibility too. The next one is automation and quality focus. Quality is a lot more than automation. Quality is bigger than testing. Just because you tested doesn't mean that there is quality, but it needs to be product quality and a process quality, right? And scaling agile project management. We have some challenges here because, even though 20 years of agile knowledge has been present, agile is a teenager, but agility is a toddler. But we are already telling like, okay, let's scale it up. I know your state of mind is at a high school level, but because you have finished college, go ahead and get employed. And we are already talking about scaled agile practices. We have many practices at this point. Increase IT expense spending, because like I said, software is becoming commoditized in every little thing. And so everybody is using either some software to do their job in, simple things, Office suite, or some other bigger projects that they are developing, where they are delivering software products. So expense is increasing, or they are putting stuff in cloud. And, cloud is good, but cloud is very expensive too, right? API governance. So the actual interfaces, when we talk about system integration with multiple different things that are going to be constantly integrated, then how each of these systems are talking, when they are talking, how they are talking, what level of information is being exchanged, governance and scalability applies over there too. And the next one is the prescriptive AI ML analysis. The keyword here is prescriptive, no longer predictive. We are not trying to use them to predict the patterns. Instead, we are coming and saying, you should do this. Right? The next one is outcome-based product management. Project management is there. Sometimes people come and ask me, should I do project management or product management? If project management is to deliver a unique product, service, or result, you should do project management, because by project management, you will do product management. Right? So outcomes, what is the outcome that is going to come out of this? What am I trying to deliver to the end customers, to the business and stuff like that? And then environmentally aware firms, people are becoming more conscious about, I will not have too much servers turn on, because it increases the power. That means, somebody has to generate so much power, and we need to reduce that. So green gas, gas emission and stuff like that. It's getting more and more prominent in every industry. It's not just transportation industry or one particular industry zone alone. And finally, creative metaverse consolidation. We are all trying to work in multiple different verses at this point. In terms of, I have my own avatar that can represent me in doing what I will be doing, but I'm not that avatar, but the avatar is me. So it can actually make decisions on my behalf as though my entire brain has been transduced, right? So some of the projected timeline that I see these things happening is, in 2023, which I'm already seeing new emerging talents. And we are beginning to think more and more about those what kind of roles will people have. And in 2024, training and learning, prescriptive PMI solutions for outcome-based management, they are all going to pick up space. And all these things they're not going to be in steps. Even in 2024, emerging talents will continue to move forward, but I'm just spacing them out in a particular way. And in 2025, API governance and scalability will start increasing, because look at this, the SolarWinds and credit card reporting bureaus, credit reporting bureaus, they all had some kind of challenges with security vulnerabilities, right? Facebook had a downtime as well, right? So automation and quality, they are increasing, but at the same time, they're also trying to think in terms of, what do I automate? No longer, let's automate everything that we can, but automation itself requires ongoing maintenance. And 2026, I'm thinking like, scaling agile projects will become mainstream. We will no longer be talking simply about, agile. We'll be talking about, are you disciplined agile? Do you have, some discipline agile certification or SAFe certifications, or, Scrum certifications, or, Scrum at scale? And, these things will emerge more and more. And finally, around 2027, more IT spending will come up. In fact, some of these will become profit centers rather than cost centers, and more environmentally awareness thing will pick up. And metaverse consolidation. I'm sure the metaverse will have a bubble burst, and then we are going to come together again as to what we will do. And you will see these trends continuously emerge. It's not like in 2025 we will see this, or in 2027 we will see that, and nothing before. So I would like to start with a poll 1 here. I presented 10 different trends over here, and I want to get audience reaction here. So Nick, would you be able to share the first poll here?
Yes, here it is. If you point your phone at this QR code or go to menti.com and enter the code, you should see an instructions page, and we'll give 30 seconds to everyone to join the session, and then I'll move to the next slide and we'll see the polling question.
And Nick, how much time do they have to finish the poll?
We'll try to be pretty quick. We'll give 20 or 30 seconds.
Okay. Meanwhile, let me check.
We will have another polling question later, so you can keep this page open. Go ahead and go to the next slide.
You want me to go to the next slide? Or would you be? Is the poll done?
Should be on the screen now for everyone to answer.
Okay. Oh, okay. They're still answering. Okay, cool. Oh, it looks like they said it changed to a new question. So maybe the second question started coming up. Can you present the first poll and see who has responded and the results?
Yeah, does everyone see my screen? I see live results.
Yeah, we can see it. We can see it. So Dr. Sriram, if you look at the screen.
Oh, okay. All right. I see that. Okay. It's coming up. Okay, cool. All right. Fantastic. Good. Thank you. All right. So now this is what you are telling, collectively crowdsourcing here, you are all telling this is what it is. So we can maybe, take a snapshot of this. And, we can move on to the next one over here. So this is, let's keep this here. And this is what you are all telling what is important and how it is important and stuff like that. So I'm going to share my screen again. That way I can continue from my presentation. Okay, can you see the presentation?
Yes.
All right, cool. So PMI Pulse of Profession reports is also, trying to come up with similar things. We heard Michael talk about some of the, Pulse of Profession reports in 2023 and how things are coming up and stuff like that. And this is also taking a snapshot of the same information. And we are talking many, many different things. I won't read each and every one of those things. But if you look at this, high drivers of project success is what people are looking for. Whether you use Agile, whether you use, safe or hybrid, we want you to be skilled enough. All these things are more like, different tools in your toolbox, and you need to be able to pick the right one to come and say, I'm going to use Agile for this part of the project. I'm going to use, plan-driven approaches for this part of the project. We want you to be versatilists. In fact, the Gartner reports were talking more about, we would like to see people that are versatilists and not necessarily on only one area alone. They want to, have that expanded skills. And the more highlights are coming from here. If I want high drivers of project success, there is more information coming. Frequent use of standardized risk management practices. Lots of keywords here: frequent, standardized, risk management practices. Similarly, stakeholder engagement and organizational agility. We use the word organizational agility, which is similar to the business agility that we are talking about. So these are trends that people are picking up. So I condense them into 4 different challenges: leading people, and then scaling the processes, and then you are moving into controlling technology, and then you are moving into the governing organization. So these are the 4 different quadrants that I'm looking at to say, okay, what are the areas that we need to play? I'm not saying we need to play in only one. We need to play in all of them at the same time, right? So in the people side, we talked about emerging talents, training, development, and start with people things. So, more and more, there is no longer, the need for T-shaped skills is long gone. That is expected. That is a commodity. We need that. Now we are looking more into, E-shaped skills. We have moved from T to V to Pi to E-shaped skills, where we want you to be versatile in many areas, as well as have, cross-functional knowledge in many areas. That's what we are looking for. So people and talent management strategy is increasing. And this is a big thing for, program managers and portfolio managers. One of the important things that I will say, when you are dealing with the people in these domains, lead with empathy. It's very important for us to understand that if you take care of people, people will take care of you. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So show them that you care, and then they will follow you and make sure that you are successful. The next one on the process side, we talked about all these different elements over here. Start with the end in mind for as Stephen Covey says, and scaling agile project management, automation, and quality management. All these things are coming up over here, but here continuously focus on principles. We need to understand what are those foundational principles. I've had some members that will come, that I have talked to and say, tell me your definition of quality. Oh, can articulate, simple thing: conformance to requirements and fitness for purpose. They're not able to articulate those 2 things. But, we are missing the principles, and we are going after, other things, whatever is coming as attractive. The next one is the technology, and we have a lot of different technological convergence, governance that is happening around. But the most important thing is, what are you recommending? In other words, even as a project manager, how much are you able to come and say, based upon my team's recommendation, based upon what I have done personally, this is where we need to go? What is that coming out of you? People are looking up to us as project managers and program managers and portfolio managers. So the most important thing is, high touch is always going to be greater than high tech. Yes, once upon a time, I used to say, technology is a tool for business and not the business itself. But many businesses have been formed around technology. So I'm not going to say that. Instead, I'm trying to say, like, high touch is always greater than high tech, at least in my lifetime. The next one is organization. When you are looking at organization, we are looking at outcome-based product management, environmentally awareness. And we talked about these things. When you are taking a look into these things, we are going into leadership starts with you. Don't look up to somebody else to lead you. show that you are the agent of change. So based upon the trends that we talked about, go and say, this is what I need the product to do, or the project to do, the teams to do, and bring the change from bottom up. I think I have a poll number 2 right over here. So can you share that? Right. It's coming along very nicely here. Very good. Very good. Maybe we can stop right over there. Then we can move on. Lots of people are responding still. Cool. This is good. This is what you are all trying to tell, that the messages that are coming to you. So I'm glad, you are able to relate to the first 2 things, because leadership starts with you leading with empathy, because it's all about leadership. If we are rightly doing the right stuff, then we would be able to, make a change in the world. But we need to make sure that we are doing the right stuff. And so, these 2 messages, I'm glad you are resonating with that. I'm going to move on. Is that okay? Can we start? Thank you. Let's move. Let's do the thing again. Okay, I hope you are able to see my screen again. Just wanted to give 1 thumbs up from somebody.
Yep, I see.
Okay, very good. Okay, let's keep moving on then. Okay, so how all these things are connected with business agility. Okay, so let's talk business agility in the first place here. So when you talk about business agility, it is the ability to compete and thrive in a digital age by quickly responding to market changes, and emerging opportunities with innovative, digitally enabled business solutions. That's what Scaled Agile framework says, and it's a mouthful. Let's take a second look at what PMI Discipline Agile Delivery says. Business agility is the ability to quickly realize value, predictably, sustainably, and with higher quality. But when you start picking up some of the key words over here, so instead of getting lost in all the noise, if you pick up some of those key terms over here, you will see these things repeatedly emerge, ability, emerging market, innovative, and sustainability, predictability, quality, and they are all centered around value. What does the Business Agility Institute say? There is an institute called Business Agility Institute, and they start telling like, okay, we need to have the team have freedom to do the work. They had to have flexibility to do the work correctly, and they had to have, still resilience built into the work product that they are trying to deliver. That's what their definition of business value is. Now, at the same time, they are also coming and telling like, oh, we need to have capabilities that these team members should have. We need to emulate the proper behaviors, and we need to enforce the ways of working. So Business Agility Institute is incorporating the ideas behind ways of working already in these thought processes right here. So this is where we need to work more. If we work on this, we will get the other one. But the biggest problem that we are all always constantly focusing is we are jumping to say, let's give a 2 weeks iteration, let's assemble a team. The team is not, not in the performing stage. They are still in the formation, forming or storming stage. But we are agile. They need to be self-organizing themselves. We're not going to do anything. Well, the team needs help. So they're not able to do everything on the right-hand side because we are not able to focus on the left-hand side here. So some thoughts to ponder. I'm not expecting a rightful answer over here, but thoughts to ponder. Does working software always generate profit? And the next one is, does agile team mean agile business? Just because one team is agile, does it mean that the entire company is agile? The next one, agile team implement everything that the customer asks. If the customer says do this, Will we immediately do it, even if it's going to be in the middle of a sprint or an iteration? So these are thoughts to answer, because the way you respond to this correctly is the way you are interpreting Agile and Scrum and these frameworks, and then applying them appropriately in your context, right? So we need to look at some of those anti-patterns. When you look at the anti-patterns, what is happening over here is framework hopping. Like I mentioned, Agile is not working for us, so we are moving into Scrum. And why did we move into Agile? Because waterfall is not working for us, so we are moving into Agile. And if you come with the same mindset of what we did in Agile, I've had some questions asked of people and say, what are you doing? Oh, we are doing a design sprint. Okay, when will you develop in the sprint? Oh, we are not going to do development here. Development will come in the next sprint. Next 3 sprints are development. When will you do testing? Or 5 sprints after that, we will do testing. In what way you are Agile? Where is the program increment getting released at the end of every sprint, every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever your pace is? So we are just moving from, we are bringing the same waterfall thinking. This is one of the reasons why I said waterfall doesn't exist in practice. It only exists in people's mind. And we take that information. I wrote a big article about that, and I shared that article, in the chat for somebody. So if sprints don't work, let's do this. Oh, these are not working. The next best thing that we have to do is save, because it makes us safe. That's not good. The next is busy versus value. If you're really busy, then you must be producing value. That's not necessarily true, right? That's not necessarily true, because at the end of the day, the 2-week increments or the whatever you're releasing, does it reduce the cost of operations? Or is it increasing revenue? If neither is happening, it's not necessarily producing value. The next one is, are we learning? I had a lot of observed daily stand-ups, and people will come back and say, what are you doing? What did you do yesterday? What are you going to do today? What is your impediment? We are all professional adults. We don't need to be asked those questions to be answering. In fact, I have stopped asking those questions, and the expectation is, what did you learn yesterday? What are you going to be learning today? What are your impediments to learning? Our transformations are failing because we do not lead. It doesn't mean immediately, okay, the CEO is the problem, or the CIO is the problem, the VP is the problem, the management is the problem. It's not, pointing fingers at the top. Are we demonstrating leadership in the first place to begin with? Right? So let's take a look at value streams. Now I'm connecting the dots, very quickly here. So when you look at the actual value streams, we have an idea from a market research, and then we develop a product, and we market the product so that people buy the product. But that alone will not suffice, because we need to have product management, which is constantly looking after what kinds of products to build, when to build, what is the cost of building these products, and how do I support the customer with whatever they are trying to do. Physical products or non-physical products. And we also have to have decision-making done in terms of the market is shifted completely. We should not be focusing on this, or some other market penetration has to be done, or product diversification has to be done. Those things are all happening as part of program and portfolio management over here. Now, that's the value stream here. So we talk these things as development value streams, and we call them as operational value streams. Those things alone are not good enough, right? Now, the value is flowing upside and downside. It's not just flowing only on, left to right. It's flowing across. In fact, it is going in multiple different directions. Value goes up and value goes down. So we focus only on, okay, which development value train, which agile release train that we are using, which methodology are we are moving across all these different things, but we are focusing on, are we asking the right questions to make sure that we are producing the value, right? So value streams differ from value. Value is flowing all over the place. Value streams is focusing on, this functional department or cross-functional groups that are being formed to actually deliver a product and stuff like that. So let's take a look at business agility from a SAFe standpoint. And this is SAFe's interpretation of the SAFe 5.1, in fact. When you look at this, we have a group of people that are developing the actual market study based epics and futures. From there, we are creating the vision. From the vision, we are creating the KPIs to monitor. From there, we are creating the solution backlogs and product backlogs. And from there, we are delivering them. And then we are actually coming back and saying, okay, is this making sense? This is what is the focus here. If you remove all the noise and actually draw the diagrams correctly over here, this is the actual signal that we are supposed to look at. And if you look at this, we are looking only shift left on these two areas. Okay, this is development teams working on this. This is operational teams working on this. This is the managers, workbench. This is the developers workbench. But that's not the only way. There is also going to be this way. So program and portfolio management is going to be a lot more bigger and looking at the value differently, right? Again, let's take a look at disciplined agile from PMI standpoint. And this is the framework from a PMI discipline agile approach. When you look at this, these are the important things: disciplined DevOps. And then you have a value stream. On top of it, you have the disciplined, agile enterprise. So when you look at these things, this is what we are focusing on in terms of, minimalist, viable product that we are releasing in each and every one of them. But if you focus very closely, there lies my, managing up and down. So it's no longer shift left, shift right alone that is important. If it's also shift up and shift down, right? That's value stream. So to me, it's not the 8 as an infinity loop. It is going to be the 8 that we normally see as 8, the number 8, right? So connecting value stream flows over here. So in order for you to understand these things, the important thing is business exists to generate a profit. And when they generate the profit, they are supporting other social causes and stuff like that. But then if they do not, they're going to have a loss. And the main connection is going to be risk. Are you able to use risk approaches correctly? And if you pay close attention, Michael Liddy was talking at least 3 or 4 times about risk mitigation, risk response, and repeatedly. So risk is the glue that connects these value streams. So risk is about, if you see it, say it. It's everybody's responsibility. It's not project managers, product owners, product managers, scrum masters, business analysts, system. It's not anybody's responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility. And also, if you feel it, express it. You may not have a real feel. We talked about it in the group thing. If you feel it, express it very clearly. I am not going to stand behind this because I don't have the confidence here. So if you play the planning poker on your gut feel estimations over here, how will you go with that flow? So value mapping is a business exercise. So I break it into 4 different quadrants over here. One is going to be the customer value add. What does the customer want? In other words, you have to start thinking in terms of at the end of every 2 weeks, at the end of every release plan that you have, quarterly releases or whatever release plan that you have, cadence. What am I giving the customer? The next one is the business exists to make sure that certain policies and procedures are followed in generating the customer value. What are those business value add? Your traceability, auditability, right? The next one is technical value add. What types of information are you using to ensure that these practices that we talked about as engineering practices are being addressed? That's the technical value add. And finally, the process value add. Are you looking at the processes itself? What are we telling in the reviews and retrospective? Are we doing things right? It could be that you are having an extremely bureaucratic process that needs to be reviewed, or a manual process that could be potentially streamlined from 10 steps to 7 steps, or some steps being automated, right? So if you are not, I call them CVA, BVA, TVA, PVA. If these things are not going to be, your work that you are producing is not here, we are in this domain, which is going to be non-value add. So linking wow and value stream is engaging the talent constantly with sustainable and innovation, but at a pace that people can maintain with the right amount of technology and manage risks more proactively. So if risks are not going to be managed at all, none of the above is going to be, are really applicable. So this is one of the reasons why I always say, use technology, don't get used to technology. So I want to break it out into, actionable step that people can take away with. And that's where I came up with my own unique approach called Step into Business Agility. And STEP here is an acronym. And I developed this primarily to make it easy for people to, take it away. So when you take a look at this, STEP is going to be strategic agility. Do you understand the relationships? And we talked about that in, in Desmond Clark's response, relationship. Are you investing, in relationship to understand how projects are coming together, how programs are coming together, why these exist together and stuff like that? Maybe you may have to go to, these conferences and then come back and say, I attended this conference. As a result, here is an approach to do things differently. Right? The next one is going to be technical agility. What are some of those new and emergent technologies that you can actually use to automate or reduce some steps or delete some steps and stuff like that? Right? The next one is going to be the execution agility. And we talked about, execution, in the last two different speakers where, hitting that. And the execution is where we are trying to say, how do we actually balance both speed and scale? If I actually, give you my agile car and say, it's working very good, but, it has good, stuff like that, but it doesn't have brakes, that will come in, iteration 2.0, which will come, 3 weeks later. Will you be taking the car? So how are value actually seen from the customer's point of view, not from the way you are operating standpoint of view? Finally, the portfolio agility, how all these things are connecting in terms of how the organization is reallocating the resources, which means people resources as well as non-human resources like facilities, equipments, materials, infrastructure, and supplies. When you bring all these things together, that's why, if you take the first character of every one of these things, it's strategic, technical, execution, portfolio. If you focus on all these dimensions equally well, then you are stepping into business agility. So let me break it down, each and every one of them a little bit more, just a few more minutes. So if you look at the strategic agility, sensing the market, what are your market feelers? How is the market moving? Should I be constantly developing this product, or is it time for me to take a look at the product, life cycle and say where this product is? Some of those must and should that you have delivered is not making a marginal return. Maybe you may have to start looking at it differently. Maybe you have to start working on those hoods that you actually, put aside for a long time. And then the culture. What culture do we have in our organization? If we don't want to always say fail fast, we want to fail forward. Right? So multiple levels of innovation. And in order for you to bring these two things together, you need to have the risk management. Are you preparing the workforce for the next 2-3 years? Are you preparing as a product owner or a scrum master or a project manager? Are you preparing the team for the next 2 years to come? Not only just for delivering the products. Right? That's going to be the first aspects of strategic. The technical agility is focused on the outcomes, which means team agility. And I still have seen many people, they'll say I'm a scrum master and they don't have any user story for themselves to work on, but they will be, breaking down the task in an iteration planning. As a scrum master, you're not supposed to do that. If you do that, you are enabling the wrong behavior for the teams to follow. And what are some of your behavior-driven development testing as a project manager that you are doing? None of my project that I have ever delivered has ever gone to the customer without me having written my own test cases that I will use to verify those products before it goes to the customer. Because in front of the customer, if the product is successful, it's because of the team. If the product is not successful, it's because of me as a project manager. Continuous improvement. How are you demonstrating continuous improvement at individual level so that the team follows you? We can come and say, team, do this. To me, team is an acronym. It stands for together, everyone achieves more. And I didn't form that acronym. I heard that from someone. So I will not take credit for that, but I'm just using that, right? So risk management is bringing this system level thinking, this culture, innovation mindset, and the innovation need not be always radical. We talk about Kaizen. There is also Kaikaku, continuous improvement as well as radical improvement. We are always focusing on what's the next biggest thing that we want to have. Why can't we actually, make things better that we already have? Right? So you're looking at those kind of what processes exist, what documentations exist, what kind of things that we can actually make it better. Right? The execution agility is focusing on doing right things, and that's about leadership. If you have anyone in the management side have taken leadership classes, that Peter Drucker came and said, the difference between leadership and management is leadership is about doing right things, and management is about doing it right. Leadership challenges the status quo. Managers actually maintain the status quo. So here, what is the customer telling us? And what does the customer not tell us that we have to deliver? How many of us went to Steve Jobs and told him, like, please deliver this smartphone called Apple or iPhone? Right? So doing the things right, increase risk-based testing, risk-based prioritization. If we do not do this, what's the impact? And this is one of the reasons why I am not in favor of certain tools, because certain tools come back and say, this is what we are trying to do. But I ask them, what is the risk here? What is the probability of this going bad? What is the impact if it goes bad? What is my risk magnitude or risk exposure? We're not based upon that. Product owner says this is the most important thing I'm moving forward. So product owner, what is the driving factor for you? Give me an objective criteria. Nothing. Right? So scale the teams so that they are able to do these things correctly. In other words, if you say self-autonomous, self-organized teams and stuff like that, they should be able to do both this, doing the right thing as well as doing things right. And we need to emulate the behaviors for them to follow. At the portfolio level, we are in this game together. That is the team thought process. How to balance the risky impediments and yet accelerate value delivery. These are questions that we should be asking. What are the risks to this product backlog that you are seeing? What are the risks to the user stories that we are committing? What are the risks to things that we are not doing that we should be doing instead of doing everything else that we are actually attempting to do? Similarly, looking at how to resolve and respond to risks. And we talk about cost of quality, prevention costs, appraisal costs, internal failure, external failure. But, that's all project management. We are agile. We don't do that. Not longer applicable. You still have to take the time to do the testing. You still need to have the documentation. You still need to have the training. You still need to do quality control. You still have, internal failures that you need to address. Not everything needs to be an escaped defect for you to address. Right? So how to continuously improve productivity? Productivity is doing more, better, cheaper, and faster with fewer resources, or doing the same thing with even more fewer resources. That's what productivity is. So when you are trying to do all these things, you have to focus on the people, the process, the technology, and the organization. All of them needs to work in balance. If only one of them is getting addressed and the other things are not going to be addressed, then you are not going to be able to make the ecosystem work well. So to me, business value, therefore, is a function of risk management. So if there is one thing that you are taking away, the amount of risk that you have to manage, the amount of focus that you need to pay attention to risks, then you will start looking at all these other elements and start focusing on the strategic, the technical, the execution, and the portfolio agility. And when you focus on those things, business value will automatically come. So if there is one way of working that you have to carry forward into your organization, even tomorrow, that's going to be what attention to risk have you paid or not paid? Right. So I want to move to the breakout room. So how am I doing on time?
We're 5 minutes ahead.
We have 5 minutes again. Okay, good. Then I'm really doing good. Okay, so let's do the breakout room. So I have a handout that I have prepared. And I'm sure that handout might be shared. I'm not seeing the chat window right now, so I'm sure that you'll have access to that. And I'm going to have all of you split into group of 5 people. And in your group, I would like you to use the handbook to develop your own action plan. So let me show this this thing. Can you see my screen with the PDF that I'm bringing? Okay, not okay. So I may probably have to share that again. So new share. This one. Okay. Can you see the screen now with the PDF? Okay. So this PDF was created as a booklet where you can print it and fold it into 2 parts, into the usual parts, the half part. So this is going to be the front end. This is going to be the back end. Okay. So these are my 4 things that I talked about here. So if you go, oops, is my table of contents, and here is going to be your summary actions. Like what are the mandatory things that you have to do, and what are the wish lists that you can start adding, and what are the things that you are doing that you should really stop. This is similar to using the agile speedboat, which is going after what should I stop doing, what should I start doing, what should I keep doing. So that's the idea behind this. Okay, so on this end, I gave you trends that it made sense to me. And you all came and said these are the things that are ranking up. So within your industry, within your specific company or sector, what are the trends that you think are really important to you? So within your group, I want one of you to be the volunteer to write down, these are the trends that I'm trying to see. Take your trend and then write down whatever notes you have on that trend. Okay, so I'm asking you to identify like 4 or 5 different trends over here. Now in this particular one, out for these trends that you are seeing, what are the things you should be doing? Maybe you should take a certification, maybe you should take a class, maybe you should get a mentor, maybe you should get coached. I don't know what that is. Maybe watch bunch of YouTube videos or something to actually gather knowledge on data science, for instance. So what are some of the things that you could be doing in the next year or so that you are getting ready for the trend that you have identified for your own self? From here, you will write down, let's say I have 8 or 5 different things that you have written down here. I mean, everybody has life. The last time I checked, everybody had 24 hours. Except for the daylight savings time frame when 1 hour is getting lost, but even that gets balanced out. So you anyway have about 24 hours. So take a look at these things and say, which one can I pick on? So if you have to prioritize based upon the time that you have available and the impact it will have if you do not have that in the next year or so. So accordingly, you start working on what needs to be done here. So you are writing, okay, I will work on this, I will work on this, I'll work on this. So you have your own to-do list as a result of this. So I have a 3-step process from here. From this, you are moving and updating this and say, I'm going to be summarizing these things. So this mandatory wish list and stop list is going to be the way you are saying, these are my goals for 2023. I need to focus on them. These are my emerging ways of working based upon the trends that I am seeing that I have to take part. So as a result of that, you will come and present it to me. And I know we are having a lot of people here, so it is humanly impossible for every team to share their thoughts. I would love to hear everyone's thoughts here, but in the interest of time, we will probably hear from one random team. And I will have my, PMI team members identify one lucky number, and that team will actually present. Okay, they will identify that particular team by name or participant or number or whatever it is, and that particular team will actually, present what they have had. Just talk it through. Okay. Any questions on the actual activity? Okay.
I'm going to send everyone to breakout rooms. I'm
Yeah.
going to pick group number 4 to present to us. So please have a facilitator and representative to speak to what you discussed in the activity. Anyone else can feel free to talk about the activity in the chat.
Fantastic.
And we'll have
Thank you.
about 15 minutes for this.
Thank you.
Dr. Sriram, there is a question in group 4.
Okay.
So
You
you
want me
want
to join group 4? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Let's go to 3, Dr. Sriram.
Dr. Sherm, I think if you want to take the program back, we're
Sure.
just about all back here.
Okay, great. That's great. So we said breakout room 4 is the chosen one, right?
That is what I said.
All right. Okay. So, well, we can change it now if otherwise, the whole thing changes. So let's go with program team 4. Who is from program 4 that wants to talk? Who is the chosen volunteer?
Bill, you are on mute if you're talking.
Oh, okay. Do you know who is speaking? I'm not able to hear anybody. Or
There we
maybe-
go. There we go. Got it now.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yep. It's not a Zoom meeting unless somebody says along the way you're on mute. So that's the important thing there. So I'm Bill Foy, and I was in group 4, and we talked about some of the trends in the short time we had, and what we came up with, that some of the trends that we see based on what we heard today was the shortage of talented people. And by that, we mean from a technical standpoint. So in our line of work where I am, it's programmers who we have to be able to find people who can program in our older technology that we use. And also finding talented Scrum practitioners is a challenge. There's a lot of certified people out there, but it's hard to find people who have actually spent a good amount of time doing it. And it's not a problem that's going to go away very soon. It's very
Sure.
difficult to find these folks. And what we came up with was that we have to, oh, and one other thing that I forgot to mention is also the business agility. So we found that a lot of the Scrum activity, Agile activity, the knowledge is housed in an IT group and not necessarily in the business end of an organization. So if you have a product manager or product owner, for example, they may not be able to work in a Agile space as easily. And because the Scrum masters and the Scrum coaches that you may hire don't necessarily have the experience, we're missing that gap of bringing people along. So what we came up with was that we all have to, as leaders who are in these positions, who presumably have these skills, not necessarily practicing them because we're leaders in the organization, or even if we are not leaders and we are individual contributors who are working in those roles, we have to make sure that we have the soft skills. And again, I forget the what we called soft skills earlier. But we have to
interpersonal
have
skills.
the which skills?
The interpersonal skills,
The
alternative.
internet and interpersonal skills, to be able to go and find people who may not have the skills we're looking for, but have transferable experience, and then mold them into what we need them to be, and have that patience and that nurturing attitude toward them, and able to be able to do that. It's a huge challenge. I think it's a big challenge we're going to have for a long, long time. And I think that the people who have empathy and the people who understand that we're in this situation will do very well. I think if you don't understand that we're in this situation, and it's not just in this field of work, it's in a lot of fields of work. But people who don't understand that and can't deal with it are really going to have a hard time with the empathy, with the learning, and then, dealing with the pressure of, well, we still have to produce, and finding ways to to do both of those things is going to be key to closing that gap that I think is going to be a gap for a long, long time. So that's as far as we got with this. And I don't know what questions you may have or.
It's not questions. So first of all, thank you, Bill, for volunteering to speak, and thank the rest of your team who contributed in your discussion as well. I'm not sure who they are, but I would like to thank all of them as well. So some of the few things that you were mentioning over here are returning to my slides. If you are able to see my slides still, right? You can see my. Right.
Yes.
So if you go into my slides over here, when I say about risk management, consult on value delivery on transition and sustenance. That's what I was trying to say over here. That's exactly what we were referring to as transferable skills. Just because we deliver something as an output does not necessarily mean that it's supposed to be, constantly supported and stuff like that. And we always want to find the right candidate to do this one, and the talent. Sometimes we may put somebody who's available to do the work, and they may not be interested in doing the job. And when we put somebody who's not interested in doing the job as a business mandate, then we're not setting that person for success. And then we come and say that person didn't do the job, and so I'm not successful. So we need to invest in the people to find the right job. So just because somebody has a certified, Scrum Master certification, CSM, doesn't mean that they know Scrum. And in fact, that's one thing that I really like about PMI, because when you talk, again, I will tell this is just my thought here. So there is Scrum Alliance, there is Scrum Strategy, there is, Scrum.org, there is so many different Scrum organizations that keep coming up. And then there is Agile Alliance. And, so many of them are giving so many different certifications. So it's become diluted. And so instead of looking at it from that angle, if you come back and say, do we really understand Scrum? And do we understand the actual principles behind Scrum? And emulate them, the working agreements and stuff like that. If you're not able to actually promote that, then we don't have the right candidate to uphold the agile values. And agile is falling all over the place. That's why we have the all but agile, or agile but, or Scrum but, or fragile, and all these things are coming up primarily because of that. But it is you are trying to unearth an important point here, which is more about how do I balance empathy with day-to-day work that I have to do. Which means you need to take the time, not you, which, the organization has to take the time, and you have to enable that to say, all right, let's take a couple of steps back and see what we have to do in order for us to be successful. So one mind mapping exercise that I do in some of my consulting engagement that I do is I ask the senior leaders of the organization, if you had to put a goalpost and say, this is where I want to be in the next 2 years, I'm not even talking 5 years, 1 or 2 years. If you put that, 1 or 2 years goalpost and say, this is where I want to be, under the blue ocean thinking. Everything is going according to your, wishes and wants, and the genie is giving you the wish list. What is that going to be? So this is where I want to be. Well, now I'm going to, put that angel, back and, think about the devil's advocate thinking and say, where are we right now? And where is our gap? And there is a very popular framework called VRIO framework, which is valuable, resourceful, and immutable and organized. And I come back and say, what value do we have in all our human capital in our organization? What do they have? If all these people suddenly do not come to the work tomorrow, how will your business function? I'm not talking business continuity in terms of, disaster recovery and stuff like that. But, here is where our strengths are and weaknesses are. And here you are talking about the opportunities. And let me now bring you the equation. What's the gap? How do you build that gap? And remember when Desmond Clark was talking about, here is I am, here is there, and I need to fill this gap. And that the business level thinking thing, like I want to be here. I am having my people here, which means this is my talent shortage. How do you fill the talent shortage? Either invest in learning, bring training on board. let them go to, good training and have them come back and understand how they did it and rechange the way and stuff like that. If that's not happening, then we're not filling the gap. We are making ourselves very busy, but we are not necessarily delivering the value. So I know it's only 15 minutes, and I know I saw one previous post that said 15 minutes went by too fast. So probably it's an activity for you to take on and engage, more like a Socratic thinking and find out how I can take this further. So if the handbook helps you in taking you to the next level, even one inch into the 1 mile journey, I think I have done my part.
Thank you
I
so
hope I
much,
answered.
Dr. Shriram. We're actually out of time.
Sure.
Thank you. We will collect all the questions from the chat and make sure that those get answered.
Okay.
So thank you, Dr. Shriram, for your insightful presentation. We all learned about demonstrating traceability between value and alignment, implementing quality for different types of personas, augmenting confidence through collective risk focus, and characteristics of emergent ways of working. Now we don't have time for Q&A, unfortunately. So please do not forget to submit the brief survey on Dr. Shriram's presentation. And I'll hand it over to Cynthia for the raffle prizes. Don't forget, everyone, that you have to be present to win.
Woohoo! Thank you, Nick. And I know that at this time, which is 11:58 a.m., that you should be awake and you should have a lot of energy. And I know you want to have some prizes. Okay, so before we go ahead with the raffle, then I need to remind you of some housekeeping items that have been shared with you today. So please be mindful that we really do need you to fill out your attendance and survey form. The the QR codes along with the web address are listed on the screen. So why don't you take a few moments now in order to go ahead and do this filling out if you have not filled out this information. So I'm going to give you a couple of seconds, and maybe while we are doing the introductions of the raffle, you can actually be filling out the appropriate information. Okay, Scott, can you advance the next screen? Okay, so today we are raffling off some great gifts. We have several books, a course, and an event. And I know because we are in the project management field, we want to be timely. So we're going to be moving at a very rapid pace. So you see the list of books on the screen, and maybe you might be one of the lucky winners in order to get one of these books. Can you advance the next slide? We also have if you are a lucky winner, you can choose one out of these 5 courses that's listed on the screen. And thanks are extended to our sponsor, Velocitech Teach, for providing us with this free online course offering. So it's one course, and you will be able to choose out of the 5 courses that's listed on the screen, which one you would like, okay? Can you advance the next screen? There's one more screen, Scott. Okay, that one. So as a project management organization, we're always flexible and adaptable. We have just recently received or are going to raffle off this particular book. So thank you, Dr. Shriram. Okay, and then
Cynthia,
yes.
Srinivas, and while we are on this slide, you could, because he provided this raffle, he also gets a certificate for presenting today. So if you, because you have this slide on, can you have Dr. Shriram kind of turn on his video and we'll present him with a certificate?
Those aren't current year calendars.
Sure.
They're not current year calendars. But the one over there is.
Nick, if you could just share your screen and present Dr. Sriram with his certificate, that'd be great.
Okay, there you go.
So,
you want me to
Dr.
do it?
Sriram, go
Yes.
ahead, Cynthia. Cynthia, you can do the honors. You do
Okay.
much better than I can.
I surely will. See, we're really flexible and adaptable. We certainly appreciate your presentation. We're grateful for your contribution as one of our illustrious keynote speaker. While the certificate is on the screen, we will be providing the actual certificate to you at a later date. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, can we go back?
Hello.
Scott?
Oh, hello, excuse me. Can I please see the attendance and survey links again, please? I don't have a QR code. I need to write down the links.
It'll be in the chat box. It'll be in the chat box.
Oh, okay. My hand was raised. No one acknowledged it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I just see it, Karen. Thank you.
Go ahead, Cynthia. It's all yours.
Okay,
All right.
Scott, can you put on our last slide again? Dr. Sherm? Okay. That's okay. We'll kind of finagle through this, okay? What I was actually saying was that we do have an additional book that we're adding to the raffle list. And so now what I need to do, don't worry about sharing it, Scott. I'm going to go ahead and start the wheel. Okay. Can you all see my wheel? Yes. You
Yes.
can hear me?
Yes.
I want to make for sure. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, we
Now,
can.
here's
Yes, we can.
Here's okay. Here's all right.
Spin
Here's
that
what we're
wheel.
going to do now. Okay, because we've got to. We're project management people, and we know timeliness is one of the characteristics that we need to practice. Okay, so I'm going to spin the wheel. I need you to be ready to respond as quick as possible if and when your name is selected. Okay, you can use the reaction icon or button to let us know you're present, or you can shout it out, unmute yourself and shout it out. If you don't respond in a timely manner, then because of time, I'm sorry, we're going to have to move on to the next name, okay? So I need you, if you need to unmute now, you know, use that reaction, the Zoom reaction button or the icon. We have a lot of eyes watching out and ears listening for your response, okay? So are we ready to win some prizes?
You bet.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So our first raffle will be a book, okay? So here we go. And the name is, come on. TAISHA World. Are you here? Okay, we can only spend a couple of moments on this, so we're gonna go to the next name. And it is Paula Riggins. Are you here, Paula?
She's here. I see her.
Okay, Paula, you will be winning The Principles of Winning by Desmond Clark, okay? Okay, here's our next winner. And the book will be The Joy of Agility. So the name is Carrie Rodriguez. Okay, Carrie. Woo! Okay, let's move on to the next book. And this is an introduction to discipline Agile.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not going